What's up, everyone? It's Wednesday. I was in the middle of filming something for work and had to stop because, no lie, this giant bright red pickup truck just pulled up in front and started blasting really loud 80s music. I looked out and I saw the door was wide open, the driver had gone somewhere. I don't know how his eardrums didn't blow out, to be honest, because it is so loud. So if you hear anything, that's probably what it is. Sorry about that. But I decided to take a break from work and film this instead because it is September 30th and I read quite a few books this month that I would, I think I should probably briefly talk about. So let's see how quickly I can do this because, like I said in the last video, processing takes so long and I am so lazy and impatient. So it's best to just, I guess, speed through and see how fast I can do this. So for this month, I read a total of, I believe, I counted last night and it was like 11 books, I think is what it is. I'm going to go in the order that I read them in. So the first book I read is The Darwin Affair by Tim Mason, and that was part of the, I think it's called the Big Library Read that the public library was featuring. So how that works is Overdrive, which is the app where you can download ebooks and audiobooks. It sponsors this program where libraries around the world that participate in it get to allow unlimited downloads of whatever featured book whatever book is being featured that month. So this month's was The Darwin Affair, and this book is set during Victorian times. I think it's in the later 19th century because it's either set when Charles Darwin is about to publish On the Origin of Species or right afterwards. I can't remember exactly which one it is, but so it will be later on in Victoria's reign, but Albert is still alive, so not like the very end, but later on past 1850. Anyways, so the main character is DCI Charles Field, Detective Chief Inspector, and he at the very beginning is doing security pretty much for I think a parade where Albert and Victoria are going through and just greeting people, and there is an assassination attempt made on the couple, and everybody, including Albert, thinks that it's that Victoria is the target, but right after that, Field finds a corpse nearby, from where they stopped the assassination attempt. So he starts to think that there's something more sinister going on, and maybe Victoria herself isn't the target. So it just launches this whole thing where the story is told from Field's point of view, as well as all these other characters, including these people who belong to what I label a cult. It's pretty much there's this creepy guy that was seen in the square interacting with the victim, the thief, he was a thief. So anyways, the victim was interacting with this person, and everyone describes him as looking like a gentleman, walks like he's gliding, and has these coal black eyes. And we later find out, this isn't really a spoiler, I think at the very beginning they already call him the chorister because he used to be in a church choir, I think what it is. I don't know, but this creepy cult features quite a bit in the book, and that kind of annoyed me because I just wanted to know what was going on with Field's investigation. The book has a lot of characters that are real life historical figures, like Thomas Huxley, and obviously Victoria and Albert, and Charles Darwin himself, Charles Dickens, and all those people. So I wanted to read more about Field going and investigating and meeting those people and all that. And we do get to read that. It's just we also have to read from the point of view of the cult as well. And I just didn't care for that as much. So, I liked it. There were certain things I really liked about the book. One of my favorite scenes is the big debate. And I think this actually happened in history. This is a real thing that happened. But anyways, Thomas Huxley, representing Charles Darwin, debates I can't remember his name all of a sudden. Oh my god! But he's I think he's a bishop, and he represents the university / church, because I guess back then many university chancellors and everything were pretty religious. But anyways, they had this massive debate, and Huxley just comes out on top. And I don't know, Huxley is such a character. I like him. I have become a fan of him And I've always liked Prince Albert, but I found him extra endearing in this book, so I liked him even more. But anyways, so just long story short, it was a pretty good read to me. Like, I liked it, but like, yeah, like there were parts that I think were just too long, and I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. So the next book on the list is Convenience Store Woman. So by Sayaka Murata. Translated by Ginny Tapley. So I really wanted to like this book. Like, I had waited forever to read this book. Like, I really, really like reading stories about people working, I guess. Like, so, like, I read manga, and I like salaryman manga. Like, just one of my favorite books is called Supermarket. And it's a Japanese novel that got translated. I think it's set in the late 60s, early 70s, but it's about people working in a supermarket chain. And they are, like, I guess, pioneers, because supermarkets were not standardized back in the day. Like every branch of a chain would do its own thing. So these people like come up with like the idea of doing discounts on older products so they can sell faster, stuff like that. But like in like chapters where people are just doing inventory. So I had friends read it and go, oh my God, this is boring. But I really like reading about people just working. So I kind of was expecting that with Convenience Store Woman, because she's working in a convenience store. And but I don't know, like there were parts of it that just like I didn't expect to get so much of like her relationship problems getting in the way, like, I guess. So she works with this guy, and he's totally, like, I would call him an incel. That's basically what he is. Like, he is sexist, like, he is lazy, he makes, like, the most disgusting comments, and he's always, like, creeping on women. Like, he just doesn't want to work. He just wants to be in the house and all that. And she strikes up, like, kind of a deal with him where, like, because she's getting, like, I'm not sure if she's on the spectrum or not. Like, I have wondered, like, she has trouble sort of processing, I guess, like, empathizing with people. Like, she doesn't understand why people do things this way or that way. And ever since she was a kid, she was like that. She takes things quite literally. Like, but she just wants to be part of, like, you know, society, blend in. So I think the book talks a lot about like how society places a huge emphasis on conforming. So, like, once you're past a certain age as a woman, she's like in her mid-30s, so like once you're past a certain age, you're expected to get married. And even though like, so she and this guy kind of like I said, make a deal, and they're like, okay, we're going to be in a fake relationship so that people will get off our backs. So he gets to not work and just stay in her house, and she gets to tell people that she has a boyfriend, and everybody knows that her boyfriend is like a no good piece of shit, but like they still go, oh my God, I'm so glad you found someone. So of course that's like meant to be commentary, you know, on just how much emphasis like Japan, I guess, places on like just tradition and like these like societal expectations towards women. But I don't know, like, it just really annoyed me. Like, I could not, like there were parts that just made me cringe, and I didn't get the convenience store working book that I was waiting for. So I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. Anyways, next. So next book I read, I kind of picked up randomly. It's called A People's History of Heaven by, oh my God, I'm going to butcher this, Mathangi Subramanian. So it's a book set in the slums in India, and I honestly didn't really know what to expect with it. Like I kind of heard like a summary of like, okay, this is set in the slums. It's about like, you know, mothers and daughters living in the slums, and it's one of those. I guess they're not really like tent cities, but I've seen like a documentary where like they have like people like kind of hammer together like tin sheets or something, and they set up like little tiny makeshift huts, and it's like a whole camp of them, because like the people who live there are like oftentimes like single mothers, or women who have like alcoholic husbands, stuff like that, but like that's all they could afford, I guess. So anyways, like, so the whole book is just about these girls and, you know, their friendship with each other through the years, and like, you know, their families, and it gets into like the whole Indian caste system and the problems that come with that, and like, you know, what it means to live in poverty, and like they go to school, but like, you know, the school's lacking resources, and there's this and some of the girls have to like the parents want them to drop out of school to work instead, and I just really liked all these characters. I ended up giving it a 5 out of 5. So like everyone from like the moms, like, because it goes into like the histories of like the background stories of the parents as well, like usually the moms and like sometimes even the grandmothers, and it's just really extraordinary how like in a place like this, like in a slum where like there are just seemingly no opportunities and everything just seems to be stacked against you, like these women can still like just be there for each other and be optimistic and keep, you know, striving, and the girls, you know, work hard, like the ones who want to like work hard to like, get into college and everything, and it's just I don't know, it was very inspiring and I liked it a lot. Like I just I found it extremely uplifting despite the setting, so that's why like I rated it so highly. Like I'm very glad I picked it up. The next book I read is Burn Our Bodies Down by Rory Power. So this one, I'm not sure what to classify it as. Is it a horror novel? Like, I thought it was a horror novel, and I still think it kind of is, but it's also like kind of sci-fi-ish, and it's also like a family drama in a way, because it's about this girl who grows up, you know, in an apartment with her mother, and her mother, like, I would call it like kind of an almost, I would say this is almost like a borderline abusive relationship. Like her mom doesn't hit her or really yell at her, but like she kind of like guilt trips her and like it kind of gaslights her in a way. And I don't know, like it's the way they talk to each other. Like her mom's always like making her feel bad for things, and she feels the need to like try to impress people constantly because like her mother never seems to find her satisfactory. But anyways, she discovers that like an old photograph, like where her grandmother, who lives in a small town, like I think a couple hours away, wrote to her mom. So she ends up dialing the number on the photograph and reaching out to the grandmother, and the mom has never talked about her past before. Like it's always just been the two of them while she was growing up, so she's of course curious, but like she wants to know why her mom's hiding all this from her, and her grandmother sounds like a really nice person, so she starts, you know, envisioning what it would be like to like go live with this like kind grandmother and be you know, part of a loving family, because that's not what she has right now. So she like I think after an argument with her mom, like she goes to visit the grandma. I mean, she goes to, I think, to see if she can stay with the grandma, and that's when things get really weird. Like at first it seems like, okay, this is a, you know, mother-daughter, like I said, family drama. It talks about like trauma, like the things that you like. Basically, once she gets to the town, like she realizes that the grandmother is just like the mom, or I guess the mom is like the grandmother in the way she behaves. Like the mom obviously learned it from the grandma. So this like I guess cycle of like abuse is like generational at this point. So but yeah, she goes to this town, and that, like, this is where I think it switches over to horror or sci-fi. It's like just so weird stuff happens. I don't want to like spoil it too much, but it's like a small, like it's the way it's set up, like the way it's described. She goes there and people look at her, and the guy at the convenience store, I mean, I think it's a convenience store. The guy looks at her and is like basically does a double take and says like, you know, you all really do look alike. And then she there's a fire, and she finds like the fire on her grandmother's property, and she finds a and this is before she even sees the grandma, like she finds a corpse there, and the corpse has the exact same face as her. And it's also remarked at the beginning that she looks exactly like her mom as well, like a younger version, like almost like spitting image. And then she meets the grandmother like later, who also looks like basically there's something weird going on. And But yeah, that's like the first part of the book, so hopefully I didn't really spoil anything. But just like there's a lot of uneasiness in the town that revolves around this family. Like people said the family used to own the town, but now like they've sold off most of their property, and like the crops on her grandmother's land are just dying, and they look weird. So yeah, like it gets super strange, but it was really good. I liked it a lot, so I also gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Maybe I was being a bit lenient, but like I said, I was very entertained, so 5 out of 5. Next book I read is totally different, a nonfiction book, So You Want to Talk About Race by Ijeoma Oluo. So we've been having a lot of these discussions at work about, race and Black Lives Matter and how to talk about this with your your coworkers or friends and all that. So I'm not going to go way too into it because I think like it's been in a lot of like bestseller lists lately. Most people have probably read it, but I thought it was a good book to help me, I guess, like frame the arguments I want to make when I'm talking to friends and family about these issues. Because like, I mean, not most of the stuff that she talked about, like I kind of already knew like the gist of, but just the way that she presents it. Like she is a biracial woman, so she's half she's half black, half white. Like her mother, she was raised by a single white mother, which is interesting. And she goes into like the way that her brother, she and her brother were treated at school, and how her, like she was always a gifted child, but she went to school, and she goes into like how at school, like lots of times, like black kids are seen as either like problematic, or like if you are like doing well, then you are singled out and seen as like extremely exceptional, and you can just never be like the way, like white kids can just kind of just be students and get judged as like individuals. Like with black children, it's different. Like basically like teachers and everyone have kind of a preconceived notion of how they're gonna like grow up or what they're gonna be, and even when they're playing, they're more likely to be seen as being more rough and aggressive, and they get punished more easily, which leads to like them not really wanting to do as well in school. And like it's just like all these problems that I have kind of known about in the back of my mind, but never really like thought about that much until she like brought it up. And like, she talks about like how that leads to like the school prison pipeline like being able to be such a big thing. And yeah, like it made for a really interesting discussion. So I also gave this 5 out of 5 stars. The next book is totally different. It's Steelheart by Sanderson, and yes, I know I'm a sci-fi fantasy fan, but I've actually never read a book by Sanderson. So this is my first book by him, and I think it's a YA novel and it's sci-fi, which is not normally his fare, I believe. I don't think he does mostly fantasy for adults, right? But anyways, so Steelheart is a book about superheroes. I guess that's the best way to describe them. However, they are, in this case, they're basically just, an event happened years ago called the Calamity, where, something went on up there, and suddenly, all these people, these humans, got superpowers, but instead of, in what we see in Marvel, where you get a superpower and you decide, okay, I'm going to use this to help people, they end up, every person who has a superpower basically starts using that power to benefit themselves. So that's where the book starts. At the very beginning, the main character, David, is a little boy, and he's at a bank with his father. And his father is... he's one of those people. He really believes that even though there are and they're called epics, these superpowered humans, and he says that even though there are many epics that are evil or just very megalomaniacal and selfish, self-centered, all that, he really believes that there are good ones that are going to come along and save humanity. And his son is a little boy, so it's he doesn't really know what to believe about that. But while they're in the bank this day, Steelheart, I'm not going to give all the details, but Steelheart, who is basically the god amongst gods here, because he's the most powerful epic, shows up, and after scuffle that happens between him and another superhero, he ends up killing David's father, and then he destroys, but while that like he kills David's father because David's father basically shoots another epic that is in the bank at the time, and like in Steelheart, one of his powers is that he's like bulletproof, like he's impenetrable, like his skin, like you can't get like cut him or anything like that. But for some reason, when the father shoots the other epic to save Steelheart, because he actually believes at the beginning that Steelheart's like there to like, there's hope of Steelheart saving like, you know, humanity, like I said. So he shoots the other epic to save Steelheart, and for some reason the bullet ends up, you know, grazing Steelheart, and it actually cuts him, and that he ends up with a scar on his face. And so he kills David's father and then destroys the entire bank and then kills off all the rescue workers that come. But one of the rescue workers, David was like unconscious, so he wakes up and she tells him to pretend to be dead. So because of that, like she saves his life and everybody dies, but David manages to, like, you know, run away, and Steelheart isn't aware that he is alive. And like at that point, Steelheart takes over Chicago, which is where this is set, and I think the city's name gets changed to New Chicago, and then flash forwards, like I think 10 years later, I can't remember, but he's 18, I believe, when it picks up again, and he is trying to get in with this rebel organization who like their main goal is to target and assassinate epics. So at this point, Steelheart is ruling as, you know, king of New Chicago, I guess, and he has another epic working with him, like I can't remember the name. I have a terrible memory. Something with night in it, but basically he keeps New Chicago dark all the time. And the world building in this book is really good. Like I like it a lot. Like they, like basically the epics all have, you know, obviously their strengths, and many of them have more than one. Like there's like one or two, and like lots of them have like trump cards. Like they basically, like they'll hide one of their strengths so that their enemies don't know what all of them are, because there are lots of power struggles between epics. Like even though epics like are allowed to rule, like, according to Steelheart, like they're allowed to rule, you know, without being deterred by humans. Like, you know, if an epic were to seize your vehicle, you're supposed to give it to them. Like they don't get in trouble for that, but they do get in trouble for like messing with other epics. That in that area, it's more of a hierarchy, like based on power, like just who has a stronger power. But they also have like weaknesses, which is why. So basically, David, his main thing right now is to try to find out what Steelheart's weakness is. Like, why was his father able to shoot Steelheart when nobody else was able to, basically. So, but yeah, there's this organization that specifically works on targeting epics, trying to find out their weaknesses and assassinating them. And I'm just going to stop right there before I spoil more, but he basically is trying to get into this organization at the beginning of the book. But yeah, I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars because I found it very entertaining. I liked it, but the character of David, and I think it's because, like, I kept telling myself it's because he's a teenage boy, and like, so first of all, like, I don't like first-person narrators, and this is a first-person point of view book, but The Hunger Games is also that, and I like Hunger Games. But with this book, and like with this one, like, David just sounded so, I guess, so like a annoying teenage boy that I could not like enjoy myself sometimes. Like he, like, so one of the first reckoner he meets is this super beautiful girl around his age, and since he's narrating, like, he just keeps on, and I don't know, maybe like this is just how teenage boys think. I mean, I'm aware, like I have cousins around that age, and I was a teenager with friends who were that age once, so I know that teenage boys do obsess over, like, you know, hot girls, hot guys, whatever. Like, that's just what you think when you're that age. But in this case, like, it just kind of got annoying because, like, they would be, you know, in the middle of like an epic chase or something, and he would just be talking about how like, oh, like, she's not treating me nicely. Like, she's like, she sounds like she's displeased with me. Like, it's too bad because she's so hot, like, stuff like that. And it just bugged me because I was just like, it made me think like, okay, what if this girl wasn't hot? Like, would this even be a problem? Probably not. and I always wondered that with books and movies too. Like one example I always think of is The Fifth Element, how like she falls, like Lulu goes in the back of like Bruce's seat in a taxi, and he decides to help her, and it's I know it's probably because like, you know, she seems helpless, and like he can't, he's a good person, he has to help, but at the same time, you know, she's like Mila Jovovich, like she's super pretty, so I'm like, I bet that had something to do with it. I always think that whenever I read books or watch movies, and like where it's like a male character, and then like he does something that just seems strange, or I don't know, like out of character or whatever, just because there's a pretty girl around. I'm like, ooh. Yeah, so there were points when the narration just didn't work for me, but like I think he grew on me eventually, like annoying nephew or cousin would. So I got used to him, and like I said, I was entertained. It was just that point didn't work for me. Anyways, the next book I read was Mitosis, which is, I think it's a novella or novelette. It's a short like chapter book thing, but it's also set. It's also by Brandon Sanderson, set in the same universe. It follows. I think it's like it's listed as I can't remember the name of the series. Like The Reckoners. So The Reckoners 1.5. So it follows right after Steelheart, and it's just a short story, I guess, like where he another epic comes to town and challenges, like, you know, David and the Reckoners. And I did like it, like, you know, overall, like it was kind of interesting to see like the Reckoners working together, but at the same time, like I felt like it was way too, like I don't know, like the Reckoner that the epic that challenges David has a interesting power, but I thought he was just too easily defeated. I mean, the way he was defeated was interesting, but it was just too easy. Like, this is a guy that's challenging somebody who's known for, you know, I guess, like, for being, it's like, I can't say it without spoiling Steelheart, but basically, like, this is somebody that you shouldn't be challenging unless you, like, you know, really are confident in your powers, which he is, but, like, I don't know, it's just, I expected, and I guess it's because it's so short, like, I expected it to be more of a fight, and it kind of wasn't, so, hopefully that didn't spoil it too much, but I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Next book I read is Night of the Mannequins by Stephen Graham Jones. So that book is also pretty short. I think it's also, actually no, it's not, I think it's still like, it's not a novella, but it's like shorter. And it's about this group of like teenagers, and they find a dummy, like a mannequin, I guess, like buried in the mud or something, or in a ditch somewhere, like when they're a bit younger, and they play with it. It's like they dress it up, they take it with them while they're playing the way kids do, and then like, you know, as the years go by, they stop playing with it because they outgrow him, and then they abandon him. And then one day, one of their friends is working in a movie theater, and they decide to prank her, so they find the dummy, I mean the mannequin, they call it Manny, so Manny the mannequin, and they find it again in the main character's garage, and they like dress it up, like sneak it into the movie theater, and they like try to put it in basically in the front row, in like the middle row or something, just to like just to freak out the manager, and like they set up this whole thing where like the manager and like their friend like get called in to like investigate somebody being loud in the movie, whatever. And then they get there, and the manager just looks at Manny with the flashlight and treats him as if he were just a normal person, which like baffles the narrator. He's like, what the fuck, like this is obviously a mannequin. But then the movie ends, and all the friends are confused, so they're kind of like just sitting in different seats across the theater, and they're like looking at each other like, what's going on? And then to their horror, Manny the mannequin gets up and walks out by himself. So that's how it starts. So you kind of, like, I don't know, I had an idea of how this is going to go, and it did not go that way. And I mean, that's a good thing, actually. Like, I was surprised. I only gave it 3 stars just because I, like personally, like, it didn't, like, there were some things I just didn't like about it. I can't say it because it'll spoil the book, but it's like different take on the whole Night of the Living Dummy or mannequin coming to life trope they usually see in horror novels. So I thought that was pretty cool. Next book is The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. So I already made like a whole video for that. Not going to go too into it, but it's about like this college student, like he's in grad school. His name is Zachary Rollins, and he like when he's like very young, like he sees a painted door outside his mom's house and he doesn't open the door. And years later, like he's in a library at school and he sees this library book called Sweet Sorrows, and it doesn't belong in the catalog. But the book is basically telling the story of Starless Sea. Like basically the book that he reads is the book that we're reading. So he ends up reading, you know, the story about himself as a little boy and not opening the door. And there are other short stories that are all connected to each other. Like they keep saying like this is a metaphor, but I don't really get that. Like there's some stories where like you can kind of see, and other times you don't see the connection as clearly. But they're all like stories that are in the same world that connect to each other. And like as you read, like the narration is kind of non-linear, it goes back and forth a lot, but you will see how they all, you know, come together. But that was very beautifully written. I usually am not, I don't care much about prose, but in this case I thought it was like, you know, it was nice. It was very, like, it was like pleasant to read. But yeah, like these, but basically, like I didn't get to the main point of this. So the Starless Sea is like this kind of world underground, and it's like a giant library. Like all these stories are just housed in this one area, and they're guarded by these people whose symbols that they use are the bee, the key, and the sword. So that's what Zachary stumbles upon with the book and with the door, and like he ends up meeting all these other characters that also have to do have something to do with the library, and they like, and it basically changes the course of his life. Because of his interactions with them and just the fact that he possesses this book. Anyways, like I said, I made a whole video. I'm not going to go too much into it, but I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was That Monster on the Block by Ganz-Schmitt, and this is a picture book, and I actually got it because, you know, Amazon Prime gives you like the free read or whatever at the beginning of each month. So I got a reminder email saying, oh yeah, like remember to get your free book. And I was looking at it, I was debating between this one and like The Haunting of H.G. Wells, which I've actually heard good things about. But I looked and I thought and I went, I can get the other one at the library. I think I can get this one too, but I kind of want this one just because that cover. I'll put the picture right here. Like it's so cute. Like it's so vibrant. But yeah, I read it and it's like I said, children's picture book. It's about this a neighborhood full of monsters, and the main character is Frankenstein's monster, and he has neighbors like the mummy, who actually is a mom, and there's a zombie. And the premise of the book is that this new neighbor moves in next door who just doesn't fit in. Like, the neighbor is a clown, literally, he's a clown with a red nose. And Frankenstein's monster is just super uncomfortable about this. So he becomes a children's version of the Neighborhood Watch and the Homeowners Association, and basically just he calls the other neighbors and is what's this guy doing here and all that, and they kind of exclude him from things, and but then later on, obviously it's a children's book, so you can kind of see where this is going. Later on, they learn about acceptance and that they can have fun with this clown, even though he's not a monster like they are. So I think it's a really cute book to teach children about giving people a chance, even if they're from different backgrounds than you and don't look the way you're used to people looking around you, I guess. So, but yeah, I just thought it was entertaining. So I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. And like I said, the colors, it's just super vibrant, super pretty to look at, and I think kids would really like it. And the last book on my list is The Crow Trap by Cleeves. So I mentioned in one of the previous videos already that I am obsessed with Vera, which is the British murder mystery series. So this is the first book in the book series for Vera Stanhope. And normally I listened to this on audiobook, and normally when I watch TV series, like mystery series that I really like, most times when I read the book version, I end up not liking it. Like the book, like not that it doesn't live up to it, it's just it's so different, and I'm like, I already know the mystery, but this I enjoyed it quite a bit. So the Crow Trap is based on one of the episodes of Vera is based off of the Crow Trap. So it's the same cast of characters almost, but they all play, they obviously adapted it for the screen. Like there are some things in here that just would not work on screen. Like I can understand why they made the changes, which doesn't happen all the time. Like most of the time I'm like, why the fuck did they make that change? But in this case, I did get why they did it. So, in the show, you see most of the cases from Vera's point of view, and, it moves in a much more fast-paced way because it has to fit into 1.5 hours. But with the book, since they have more room to work with, like they go into the backstories of the victims and the suspects and all the characters that Vera encounters while she's investigating this case. But on the flip side, you don't get to see as much of Vera and Joe, her sergeant. So Vera herself actually doesn't really make an appearance until 2/3 of the way through the book. I kept on looking. I was like, oh my god, when is Vera? She kind of makes a little brief cameo at the beginning where the point of view characters comment on how they don't know who this woman is, and that's it. And then she doesn't come back again until 2/3 of the way through the book, where it switches over to her perspective. But she is just so hilarious, Vera, and the reader for the audiobook sounded like Brenda Blevin, the actress that plays Vera, and I don't know, the way she talks, it's just so blunt and grouchy and like I said, just humorous. She amuses me so much. And the other characters in the show, Vera, I think the show Vera does a good job of getting us to care a lot for the characters that are involved in her cases. But because we get the background story and we get to read so many scenes in their perspectives, I grew to really, really like those characters, way more than I liked them in the show, because in the show, I think there's certain characters whose roles went to other characters, and I get why they did that, but I the way the book did it, you get to hear there were some things that happened in the show where I went, I don't get why that character did that. But once you read the book, you're like, oh, I know why, because now you know their backstory. So it was very good. I think I gave it a 4 out of 5. I don't remember exactly. Yes, I did, 4 out of 5. So anyways, that was the last book on my list. And I am going to end this here because it got really friggin' long. So good night, everybody. I'm going to go back to work. See ya.